Welcome, listeners. This is Hakeem Alexander, creator of Hypno Athletics, Exercising Your Mind, and several other things that will be discussed in this presentation. So the title I put on this audio presentation was something like Unlocking the Secrets of Thought with Clinical Hypnosis. And that's the title on my website, hypnoathletics.com, Unlocking the Secrets of Thought. But what this is going to be are for both clinical hypnotists, other types of clinicians who are in the business of helping people using psychological and behavioral science methods, and as well as laypersons, because it should be known that you do not have to be a hypnotist, a hypnotherapist, a clinical hypnotist, a psychologist, or anything like that in order to make significant changes in your life. And that's why for many years, since 2006 online, in blog form, I've been putting out tons of information, documenting my journey. It's been like Jack Herer, who someone once described what he does as being part scientific document, part autobiography, and part journalistic expose. So I've gone through all of that. Anyway, I'm going to start this presentation off with something that I had started creating a program before called the Emotional Incubation Method. And one of the last broadcasts that I did, I had touched upon something that I'd learned about before and never knew exactly where it came from, but it's called the 4 stages of competence from psychology. And so I'm gonna just alter it slightly just for this presentation. It's exactly the same thing except in one small way that's actually pretty significant. And that's because from my perspective as a hypnoanalyst or clinical hypnotist, I think that this change is necessary. There's a lot of things that small changes need to be made in order for a better and simpler understanding. And that's what I'm going to do here is, I'm paraphrasing, I don't know exactly where this attribution comes from. Some say it's Buddhist, but it was said that the mark of a master or even a genius or something like that is someone, or a great teacher, even I think that was actually it. The mark of a great teacher is one who can take what would be apparently complicated subjects and present them simply. So as a teacher and a clinician, what I'm attempting to do always, and have failed miserably at many, many times, is to be able to effectively transmit knowledge from myself to other people. But I've also succeeded many more times than I've failed, which is part of the so-called secret of success in a lot of ways. So these 4 stages of competence, which I'll call the 4 hypnotic stages of competence, are like this. And this is, so first of all, this is one of the first tools that we need to understand as a clinician or anyone who wants to make a positive change in life, is that a lot of times there are people who are succeeding at things, and we've heard a lot about this before, where it's been said that there's a lot of people who succeed at doing things, but they aren't able to explain it. They aren't able to articulate it to you. And the reason a lot of times this is given is because, these people were brought up around success, and it's just the environment that they've been in, and so on and so forth. But what this does to people who have grown up in successful environments, and it just comes to them apparently naturally, is they develop what's called unconscious competence. Unconscious competence. And this is where a lot of people want to strive to get to is unconscious competence, meaning you don't have to think about doing what you know, that it comes naturally, it's second nature. And where most people are a lot of times when they're having difficulties in life and difficulties with a lot of things is because they're operating from unconscious incompetence, where they don't even know that there's a problem sometimes. They don't even know why they're having the problems in their life. So they don't understand why they're having difficulties, and if they understand that they are having difficulties, they don't know why, and they don't know where to begin to make the changes that they want in their life. So what we do is move through these 4 hypnotic stages of competence from unconscious incompetence, and then you move to conscious incompetence, where now you know the things that are the causes of your problems and what needs to be changed. And of course, this is my interpretation, so you could look it up. It's on Wikipedia and all that about the 4 stages of competence. But for the purposes of what I'm saying, this is what works. So then you move into unconscious incompetence. You don't know how to resolve your issue. Then you move to conscious incompetence, where now you're able to see the different places and the flaws and the things you need to work on. And while you're in that conscious incompetence, you're learning the things that you need to do in order to replace those things that you've been doing wrong. And when you do that, you move into conscious competence. Because even though now you're doing the right thing and you're taking the right steps, you have to actively think about how to do it. You have to really be focusing and concentrating on how to get it done. And then finally, you'll move into, this is where I'm making the slight change. They usually would say that in psychology that you move into unconscious competence. I'm going to say that we move into subconscious competence, because we're not unconscious of it. Before, when the problem was happening, we were unconscious of the problem. But since we've moved through these stages and we've moved through conscious incompetence and conscious competence, it's not unconscious anymore. It's not like a blacked out void. It's subconscious competence. It's right below the level of conscious awareness. And you can always go in there and think about those things if you want. You can always be conscious of what you're doing right. You can always be conscious of your competence at any time you so choose. So that is one thing, as a clinician or as anybody wanting to improve something in your life, you want to start there, moving through what I'll call the 4 hypnotic stages of competence. You have to move from unconscious incompetence to conscious incompetence to conscious competence, and then to subconscious competence. Okay, now I'm going to move on through some things that I learned as a student at the Hypnosis Motivation Institute, which is America's first nationally accredited college of hypnotherapy, and then became more apparent as I gained more experience in life and got involved with a lot of other things. And this is also one of the biggest impacts on my practice were my very first person that I hypnotized was on Thanksgiving, just 20 days after I had enrolled in the Hypnosis Motivation Institute, and the person went into a deep trance. I was reading directly from the Professional Hypnotism Manual written by John Kappas, the founder of the Hypnosis Motivation Institute, and this person, she went into a deep trance and responded to everything. It was one of the most amazing experiences of my life. And then the other one was having a very successful 3 sessions with a person who was suffering from an arachnophobia for 14 years and helping them to extinguish that and become and to overcome that suffering and to be able to live a better life because of it. And I use something called systematic desensitization for that process. And one of the places that there's a lot of similarities to a lot of different things that I learned over the years, and one of them was when I got a certification for smoking cessation, which is just a fancy way of saying to help people stop smoking. I got it certified in helping people to stop smoking from a guy named John Melton, who's one of the instructors at the Hypnosis Motivation Institute. And one of the things that worked the most for me and the best for me, beyond all of the subconscious-minded hypnosis stuff that we were supposed to use, was actually something more of a physical, behavioral approach, which was simply having the person smoke less and less cigarettes incrementally over time. So like if this person was smoking a pack a day, that's 20 cigarettes a day, they would continue doing that and then plan to the next week, for example, if they wanted to go really slow, if we wanted to do this over like 21 weeks, for example, the next week they would only smoke 19, and they would like give away or break apart the one that they had, the extra. And then the next week after that, they would be down to 18, and then 17, and then 16, until we're all the way down to 1. And that worked the best, more than any of the other, deepening techniques and relaxation and all the other stuff that goes along with hypnosis, because I did have a few sessions that didn't work out the way that I wanted to until I started focusing more on that behavioral strategy. And then that became more clear into my life that approach was really valid, and I gained more understanding of why that worked when I learned about a psychiatrist named Peter Breggin, who had which I'll call the Breggin withdrawal protocol, where he was helping people who were on really like hardcore atypical antipsychotics known as neuroleptics. He was helping people through his book. He outlined a method on how to withdraw safely from the antipsychotics, which for all intents and purposes, a lot of times it looks like they are designed to actually cause people to have psychotic symptoms when they were withdrawing from it. Sort of like, I don't know if a lot of people seen The Basketball Diaries, but anyway, it was a movie with Leonardo DiCaprio, and the guy was helping him to withdraw from heroin, and he, basically locked him inside of a house, and Leonardo DiCaprio's character was freaking out and going crazy and was acting really psychotic because he was withdrawing from heroin. And this is a similar effect of what happens to people when they are on high doses of antipsychotics for a prolonged period of time. If you just stop cold turkey, you could have some pretty nasty physical effects, and some possibly could be fatal from what I've read. But also, you can experience psychotic symptoms whereas you've never had any psychotic symptoms before. So this is part 1, I guess, because I'm looking at 15 minutes here, and I don't want to have to stop short in the middle of an explanation of something, and I've got just over a minute left in this presentation. I'm just going to jump immediately into part 2 of this presentation of Unlocking the Secrets of Thought. But that's where I started seeing really a lot of the validity of the systematic desensitization was first in having a lot more success, a much higher success rate using the behavioral approach of incrementally decreasing the amount of cigarettes a person smoked every day, and then learning about the Breggin withdrawal protocol, and then actually seeing that successfully play out with someone that I knew. So I'm going to continue with the next presentation in this right away, part 2 of Unlocking the Secrets of Thought with Clinical Hypnosis. Stay tuned.